Hi there, I'm Rod Bergeron, and today we're going to be doing something that's monochromatic. That means just one color. And I'm going to use my favorite watercolor color, which is Payne's Gray. I'm wetting the page just below half to the top there, and I'm going to install some Payne's Gray for the sky, just going from the left to the right, sort of in some long swoopy lines across there, okay? Now, I'm not gonna rinse this brush out, but I'm gonna put it into some water and just pick up a little bit of water here and a little bit more Payne's Gray. And we're gonna tap this along the water line there, or along the horizon line, I should say, just like that. And we're just gonna let that bleed up into the background, okay? And then we're gonna take this, we're gonna leave about a 1/4 inch, maybe 5mm line between the water, where the water is, and across there like that, okay? And I'm gonna pick up a little bit more Payne's Gray and put that into that line. And we're just gonna let that bleed for a couple of seconds here. I just tapped the Payne's Gray again. Make this a little bit darker, this tree line, a little bit darker here. Whenever we want to bump up the saturation level, make it a little bit more intense color, we just touch we don't add any more water to our brush. We just touch the paint and put it into the wet area and let it bleed off to wherever it is it's going to bleed off to, okay? That's probably enough in there now. So I'm going to take this now, which is still wet, still got quite a bit of pigment on it. I'm just going to put it across the foreground like this. And again, I'm going to pick up a little bit more, make it a little bit more intense in the foreground. I'm going to put this into the water and right back out. I'm not trying to knock all the pigment off. I'm just trying to get it a little bit wet so we can get some of that pigment moving a little bit. Okay, just going to tap that a few more times. All right. This is my #1 round watercolor brush, and I've sharpened one end of it with a utility knife. So I'm just gonna, this is called scribing. I'm just gonna scribe out of some of these wet areas right here. I'm trying to create a little bit of foliage. That's pretty good across there like that. That's all right. Now, you see where we left that dry line in across there? We're just going to leave that. That's going to look like a field that's way off in the distance, okay? All right. One last thing here. This is my little bag of salt. I'm going to put a little bit of salt into the tops of the trees along there, and a little bit of salt into the tops of the trees along there, and a little bit in this wet area across the front. Okay? Don't cover it with salt. The idea is to get, a few, you can see here, there's a few salt grains. Down here, there's a little bit more, but I'll try to zoom in here so that you can see it. It's not covered with salt. It's just enough to add some visual interest across here. What happens is some of the salt is going to turn into salt water, and some of it is just going to stay as a salt crystal. And then that creates kind of two separate effects that are going to go on in there. But the idea now is to not take a hairdryer to it. Don't put a fan on it or anything. Just let it naturally dry. Sometimes it takes an hour. Sometimes it takes a lot longer than that, depending upon how much water that you have on there. Look what's happening to our sky here already when I did those swoopy kind of lines across there. Look at what's going on there. That's going to turn out pretty cool. And you can see some of the salt effects that are happening here already, especially right here. All those little dots are because of the salt. All right, let's let this dry and see what happens. All right, let's have a look at this. Look at this sky. Look how that's dried with these swoopy lines in there. And then that little bit of blue that broke out in some places. Look at what the salt has done here. It's created this foliage for us without actually doing hardly any work at all. Same on down here, that salt. Look how that blue is broke out of that Payne's gray. And then you get this really nice contrast between the light and the dark, all right? Always think about that in the paintings. You know, where can I put really, really dark stuff and where can I put really, really light stuff? And let them play against each other. And then look what happens when we put our mat on here. Really, really interesting. Again, the sky kind of pops right out there and the dark and the light playing off against each other. Try this monochromatic thing. It's a lot of fun. But I think we can do a little bit more to this painting. And I got my Sharpie pen out here and I'm going to put in some very quick pine trees. I'm going to put in a couple of there. I might even put in one more. I'm just doubling up those black lines to give them a little bit of thickness, a little bit of depth, if you will. And I'm going to set my black Sharpie down there. So that's a Sharpie pen. All right, and I'm going to take some of this, which is just Payne's gray wash. And we're going to stipple in some dots left and right, top or bottom to top on this to create some pine trees over here, okay? And we're just going to keep doing that. And we're going to build up several layers. So don't worry about whether or not it was dark enough. All right, just like that. And the next layer is going to be significantly darker than that. Okay, and then we're going to go across the front here a little bit and add some undergrowth, I guess, just like that across there. All right, now you want to take your hairdryer and dry this up. Don't use your hairdryer so hard that it makes those dots like splatter, okay? You want those dots to sort of stay where they are. So very, very gently with the hairdryer. All right, so I'm going to pick up a little bit more Payne's gray that's much more intense this time. All right, so I'm going to pick up a little bit more intense pigment this time. No more water, just more pigment. And I'm looking for the areas that don't have a dot, is how I'm thinking about it. And I'm just looking for the areas that there's still white space, or maybe it's the first layer and I'm just going over it. Put that one a little bit higher, maybe a little bit wider. However it is that you think about your pine trees. Picking up a little bit more pigment here and just going to go across there like that. All right, I think that's pretty good. All right, let's put our little mat on here and see what we get. So you can see just adding those few little pine trees in there have really created a lot of visual interest for us. It looks like a field where like a field where there's a interruption in the field where maybe a tractor would have to go around this, or even a meadow where there's some pine trees jutting out into the meadow. And then all of our foregrounds, so that sort of gives us a good midground, which makes this a really good foreground, which makes that original tree line back there even further back, sort of pushes it way, way back. All right, I'd love to know what you think of it. Give this a try. Let me know what you think of this painting. I'd appreciate hearing from you in the comments section. And if you're currently a subscriber, thank you very much. And if you're not currently a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks a lot for watching today, and I hope I see you again real soon.